The first full week into the new year is done, and it brought with it a number of calls on the hotline regarding what took place in our nation's capital this week.
Wednesday was a national disgrace in Washington, D.C. Trump incited a riot at the Capitol. He should be brought upon charges because if this was anyone else, such as Black Lives Matter, they would have been arrested and locked up immediately.
It's embarrassing. All you Trump supporters, you're doing nothing but embarrassing yourselves, not to mention the country, because Trump doesn't care. You see, he wasn't out there with y'all's asses. He wasn't out there with y'all marching. And you attacked our Capitol. Our Capitol. And you want to come walk around with the American flag like you're patriots. Every one of you should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Every one of you. So you're all criminals now. Every last one of you.
There were some callers concerned that the news media made too many assumptions on who was actually involved in the destruction.
Hey, Channel 9. Hey, one of your info babes there just said something about Trump supporters. How do you know that's who they were? How do you know they weren't Antifa people or Black Lives Matter people or just people implanted into it to cause that trouble to get other people to do it? That's what I've heard has happened. Of course, you people wouldn't admit to that because you probably agreed with putting plants in there just to destroy Trump.
While some conservative callers pointed across the aisle.
Well, they're blaming Trump for it. Well, they need to blame the Democrats for this. If they hadn't stolen the election, the Democratic Party, you wouldn't have the protesters there protesting today.
Jerry called to point the finger for Wednesday's destruction on the Senate Majority Leader.
You need to call Mitch McConnell to step down from his position in the Senate. He's the one most responsible for what happened yesterday, based on the fact he had a chance to help impeach Trump and get him out of there.
While many were disgusted and disheartened by what they were seeing unfold.
Everybody involved, including the president, ought to be tried for treason. It was disgusting and horrible.
Sad that we have a president that's very immature. He acts worse than a 5-year-old losing his toy.
We're Americans. America does not act like this. These people need to be arrested, prosecuted. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. They should not be carrying American flags. They don't even need to be called American because they're not. They're animals.
You know, I had dozens and dozens of calls. Obviously, we can't air them all here, but there was also a woman who called and voiced her opinion, objecting to what she saw happen there at our nation's capital. And she didn't give her name, but then she ended up calling back, asking me not to air her call at all in fear that someone might just find out who she was and then come after her for that. Now, that's disheartening, as the right to freedom of speech is for everyone, and no one should live in fear of exercising it. As always, you can call the Feedback Friday hotline to voice your opinion about any stories you see here on WCPO 9, 513-852-4998.